Hello and welcome to a new video. Roughly a year ago, I posted a video called Did I Draw Your Favourite Pokemon? For some of you, yes, I did, but for many of you, no, I did not. So in this video, we will be covering about 100 more of your favourite Pokemon. Similar to the last video, I went on Instagram and I asked you guys to send me what is your favourite Pokemon, and I wrote them all down in a list, and in today's video we will be drawing some of them, 102 of them specifically. Also, like the last video, we will be starting off in my sketchbook, drawing traditionally. I'll be using the Ohuhu Honolulu alcohol markers and the Ohuhu Fineliners for this. I'm starting off right now with the blue/green Gastrodon. These are all being drawn in the same style that I did for the previous video as well, trying to just simplify them, draw them in a way that I'm comfortable with, and also giving them these silly little eyes that I just really like. It does change what a lot of them look like, as you can see here with the Gastrodon. I changed its third eye as well. I wanted it to fit in with the other eyes. This is really interesting with Pokemon because some of them have very unique, very iconic eyes to their design. Yeah, it's fun trying to figure out how far to change it and how much it changes what the Pokemon itself looks like. Just to let you guys know, at some point the art style does change a little bit. I think my comfortableness with them improves. That is in part because I started making this video almost a year ago, immediately after finishing that first one, but things got in the way that prevented me from finishing it faster than I meant to, which is why it is now so much later for this video. And there is a huge chunk during the drawings at some point where I didn't draw them, and then during the second half after the break, at some point start getting really comfortable drawing them, and I start changing their poses up. So maybe you'll see, maybe you'll notice, or maybe you won't. Maybe it blends in enough. This video was once again a lot of fun. I really enjoy the diverseness of all these Pokemon because I wouldn't necessarily choose to draw them myself because these are your favourites. I've just never drawn some of these Pokemon before, and it also introduces me to a lot of new Pokemon that I've just never heard of because of the newer games that I maybe haven't played or something, you know? In my last video, I did mention that I had never played Pokemon Scarlet or Violet, but that I didn't like them based on everything I'd seen. And there were a lot of you who said that this was kind of a really unfair opinion because I'd never played it myself, and that I really shouldn't judge it until I've actually tried it. And I just wanted to reassure you guys that I have now played it and my opinion is still the same. I enjoyed it for a while. I thought it was fun, mostly because it was just a new game, but very quickly I got very bored of it. I got very sick of it, and I missed the older game designs. So I think now my opinion is more fair than ever because I have tried it. I almost finished the game. I got like really close to the end and I just couldn't bring myself to play anymore, and that was a couple months ago, and I haven't played any more since. So I'm very sorry to everyone who loves those games, but I do not. But there are a lot of Pokemon in the game that I do like. There are some designs I really don't like, but I have been introduced to some that I really like, and I do draw a couple of them in today's video. Okay, so about the art itself, you can probably tell by now my process. I do an initial sketch of the Pokemon, then I mostly erase it so that it doesn't dirty up any of the pens I use. I then go in with the alcohol markers and I put down all the base colours of the Pokemon. And then after that I go in with a slightly darker shade of each colour, and I just add like really basic shading. And I like to add these like layered line effects in some of the shading that I do. I just think it makes it look more interesting and more fun. And then after that I go in with the Ohuhu Fineliners. I line everything, I add darker shadows, I add more like actual black blocking, which I think gives a cute kind of comic effect. And it's just a very simple but fun process that I enjoy doing, obviously, because I do it again and again and again. So yeah, that's the basic of how I draw them, and I slowly build them up on each page. It's really fun trying to make the Pokemon fit into the gaps available. I had a lot of fun drawing Aipom, even though I struggled initially. He probably turned out to be one of my absolute favourites. I just love his goofy little face, and I love Aipom anyway, so I'm just really glad that I got to draw him for this video. One of the struggles I have with doing the traditional drawings of them is, of course, it is hard to move them. Like once I've drawn the sketch, I can't just pick it up and move it, so I have to really make sure that it's where I want it to be, which can be a bit of a pain sometimes if I then like the sketch. But it is a fun challenge. I do quite enjoy it. Not as much as when I'm doing the digital ones and I can literally just pick up the whole illustration and move it. I actually spent a lot of time doing that for the digital ones, and yeah, it was like a weird puzzle, and I love doing puzzles, so it was strangely therapeutic. But yeah, it's like a different kind of challenge when doing it traditionally. Yeah, it is a struggle because trying to draw them so that the Pokemon still look like themselves, but having them fit in each gap in like a position that is fun to look at. You know, it's very challenging, but of course I like it, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it. Abra was quite tricky, trying to make him look like he was chilling, try and make his feet look as natural as possible. I also really like how he turned out. He looks like he's just like floating and asleep. So something else I'm doing for this video is I thought it would be nice to answer a couple of your questions. Again, on Instagram, I asked you guys if you had any like Pokemon related questions for me, just anything that I could answer in this video. So yes, every now and then I will be popping one in. So I thought that we could start with one now. At Non-Toxic asked, do you choose your starter based on their attack type or their design? So I definitely go for their design, absolutely. This usually means it changes up the difficulty for me for each game without really trying, if that makes sense, because I think choosing a fire starter is like easy difficulty or something, because one of the early gyms is always a grass gym and it takes a while to get a fire Pokemon naturally, and then a grass Pokemon I believe is that middle difficulty, and then water is hard, or those two I'm always iffy on which way round. But yeah, by choosing them based on their design, it just kind of randomizes the difficulty for me for each game. It also means that I'm not always playing with the same type. It like just mixes things up. And also, of course, I want a Pokemon that I think looks adorable and looks cute. So yeah, I never really go for their typing. So what I was going to do initially was, back when I was expecting to finish this video a lot quicker than I did, I was only going to have this first page here that you can see at the beginning of this video, and then the other page was going to be the beginning of the next video, which I'm currently working on. So yes, there will be a Pokemon Part 3. But now that I'm actually almost finished with the sketchbook, I thought, that's kind of ridiculous, because then also it means I can't do a sketchbook tour until I've finished the third video, and that's just going to take a long time to finish the third one. So I thought You guys like when I do the traditional ones, at least that's what you guys said on the previous video, so I thought why not just have both of them at the beginning of this video and then do another double page spread in the next sketchbook. So that is what I've done, and I'm actually glad for it because it also meant that I reached 100 for this video a lot quicker than I initially thought I would. Venonat was one of the Pokemon who, like I mentioned, has very unique eyes to their design, and initially I wasn't going to give them their giant bug eyes, I was just going to give them dashes like the other Pokemon, but as you can see I changed my mind in that regard. Part of me kind of wishes that I'd stuck with the other eyes just because they looked so cute, but also I don't actually see how that would have worked unless I'd used like a red pen so that their eyes were still red and stood out. I don't think that would have worked, and I do that with a couple other Pokemon as well where it really doesn't work to change their eyes so drastically, so they fit in but also not the same way that all of them fit in, so you'll notice when I get to each of them. I was really happy to see a lot of the older Pokemon being suggested towards the beginning of this video. There are a lot of the original generational or generation Pokemon that I just love. They are so nostalgic for me. So like I said, seeing Venonat and then also Goldeen, because Goldeen used to be such a favourite of mine because it's just such a pretty fish. Like, it's got a horn, so when I was younger and I was obsessed with unicorns, I was like, it's a pretty goldfish and it's got like a unicorn horn. It's an amazing design. And I do still quite like Goldeen, but one thing that always put me off when I was younger was when they evolve into, oh my lord, what do they evolve into? Hang on, what's it called? Sea King. Yeah, I mean, now that I'm older, Sea King doesn't look that bad. But when I was younger, to see Goldeen go from this like beautiful little elegant fish into this kind of goofy looking, not as pretty fish, it was enough to put me off when I was younger. It was very shallow like that. I used to really love Goldeen, also because I think it was one of Misty's Pokemon in the anime, and I also used to really love Misty, so it kind of went hand in hand, you know. Drawing, I think this Pokemon is called Dedenne. For some reason, I know that I've seen this Pokemon, but I'm also surprised it exists for some reason. I don't know why. When someone suggested it, I was just like, oh, okay, that's a Pokemon, I guess. I don't even know what type it is. Like, it looks like it should be electric, but I kind of get the feeling that maybe it's normal. Like, based on its colour scheme. I could just look it up. I don't know. I don't know what it... Let me look it up. What is Dedenne? Is that even how you say it? It is. It's electric. I guess it's because maybe because I used a more brown colour. Oh, it's Electric Fairy. That is a weird looking Pokemon. It's adorable, don't get me wrong. That's another reason why I thought maybe it's electric, is it because it looks like it should be like in the Pikachu family, and like... Oh, wait. What is Emolga? Yes, Emolga is also electric. They all look like they should be in the same family. There's something about electric mice Pokemon that, although I guess Emolga's a flying squirrel. I don't know what the hell. What is Pokemon? What was I saying? I have no idea. I'm drawing Celebi now. Celebi is a Pokemon that I have mixed feelings on. I used to love it to pieces when its film came out. It was so cute. But now it's still got an adorable design, don't get me wrong, but in the film at least it's kind of annoying. Yeah, I don't know how to say, it's just kind of, it's always in your face. Mankey, another one of the original generations. Love Mankey. He's got such a like cute, simple design. He's for me personally, an underrated Pokemon. I always forget that he's actually pretty good. And it isn't until I do like Nuzlocke or whatever that I'm reminded that Mankey's a really good Pokemon. Again, personal preference. I love Mankey. So drawing him here was really fun. He's like a weird pig monkey thing. He's like a little fluff ball. I love him. He's so cute. And then I draw Pyukumuku. I accidentally draw this Pokemon twice. I apparently didn't cross it off my list when I drew it here, so it gets drawn again later. So whoever likes Pyukumuku, oh my lord, whoever likes it, you get 2 of them. Yay! Oops. Then I drew a Pincurchin as well because I was just trying to fill up this space on the page because it was bugging me. There was just, it's not a huge space, but it was big enough that I could notice it was empty. And then that is it for the traditional drawings of the Pokemon. As you can tell, I filled some of the blank spaces with little stars and Pokeballs because I thought it was cute. So now I am moving on to the digital drawings because obviously 102 Pokemon are a lot of Pokemon, and I didn't want the rest of my sketchbook to just be Pokemon drawings. So I did them digitally, and it helps a lot more because it's just a lot less stressful because, like I said, I don't have to worry about where I'm going to place it on the page. I do that after the fact when I've drawn them digitally. And with the bigger Pokemons, like the one that I've started here, Yveltal, I think is how you say it, there's no way I can draw that in my book. It's so complicated that I just need the freedom of drawing digitally for it. So I did save a lot of the more complicated Pokemon designs for the digital drawings, as you will see. Like I said, it's just a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoy watching these. I know some of you don't like them as much as the traditional drawings, but like I said, it's a lot of Pokemon, and it's just, I don't know how much of my sketchbook I would have had to dedicate to it. So like I said, there is quite a large time jump at some point with the digital drawings, and I know in the previous video some of you suggested in the comments that instead of how my process for digital, where on a separate layer I colour around the entire silhouette of the Pokemon to do the fill-in method, some of you suggested that I use the selection tool on the white space behind the drawing and invert it, and that way I get the drawing. And I just want you guys to know I do that later in the video. I don't do it at the beginning because I think I forgot, but because there is such a large time jump at some point, and that's kind of what I've started doing with my digital drawings anyway, you will see that changes at some point. So I'm sorry you have to put up with it for now, but it gets better. Dovey's Dove and Dream for Everest and Caroline Art and Starry Fern and a bunch of other people, actually a lot of you, asked me what my favourite Pokemon trainer / character was design wise and or in general, and I actually really struggled trying to pick an answer for this. I like a lot of the random trainer encounter designs, so it was pretty difficult trying to narrow it down to just one. And then I also like a lot of the actual named character designs, but for me personally, they never really stand out enough for me to have like a consistent favourite. So yeah, it was kind of tricky trying to nail that down. You know, I did some searching and I took a look at some of the designs and stuff, and I settled on, for like the random encounter trainers, I really like the Delinquent trainer from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. That character design is just like, it's kind of really cool, and I do remember really liking it when I first encountered it ages ago. And then for named characters, I really like the design of Flannery. That's another Ruby design. I just find them really fun. I really like red hair, and it's all spiky as well, so it's really just aesthetic wise. I can't actually remember what the character themselves is like, but she's pretty cool. And then another character I like is Lenora from Pokemon Black and White. You know, I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of the Black and White games. I played the first one and I started playing the second one not that long ago, but I just never finished it. They're not my favourite. There's a lot of Pokemon designs I don't like, and the story never really meshed with me. But a little while ago I was playing it again and I got to the whole part with Lenora, and she just felt like such a comfort character. Like, I can't remember the story exactly, but I'm pretty sure she helps you out, and I was like, yes, please help me. Like, I wish she could come with me on the journey, because she was just such like a cool character, and her design is so cool as well. I really like it, and it really fits her personality. I really like Lenora as well. So I'm at the point with the digital drawings where I believe there had been the time jump that I mentioned previously. I think Noivern was the first one I drew coming back. They're like quite heavy, big designs, so they were quite jarring for me to start with getting back into designing them, and they took a long time to actually do the drawings themselves. I think they took almost an hour each, because I was just like, I'd completely forgotten how to do everything. But yeah, this was after the jump. It had been like several months, and I had decided, there had been multiple times where I was like, do I actually want to finish this video? Like, I really enjoyed it the first time, but I was really struggling this time, and I lost motivation for some reason. So I was like, if I'm actually going to finish this video, I need to just start doing the Pokemon and stop putting it off. So I started doing this thing where I would draw as many as I could for just an hour every day, which doesn't sound like very long, and it isn't, but it really helped me then get into it. And after a while, it started becoming the hour that I looked forward to the most in the day, which is also the point where the designs started to become a bit more fun, I think. I mean, with how I drew the designs. Oh, and here's Pyukumuku again. And you will notice that some of the designs are quite static. They are just the Pokemon stood there, probably in the design that I referenced the image from, or in the pose that I from. Typically, they're in the pose from the reference that I used. I did this a lot with the Pokemon because there are so many that I just couldn't come up with any original poses for them. And then also a lot of it is if the design is too complicated. I was like, I don't entirely know how this Pokemon works, so it's best to just stick to the reference image. But you will notice that with some of them, I have more fun with them. And they are either Pokemon that I really like, or just designs that look really fun to mess around with. So yeah, there is a big difference between some of the Pokemon. But I am doing the different drawing method where I'm doing the select tool. So these pieces are going a lot faster, which I appreciate, and I'm sure a lot of you will probably appreciate watching, because the original tracing method that I did, it's actually really painful to watch, and I'm so sorry that that was all I did in the first video. I appreciate you sticking around for this video. If you came from that video, or if you've seen that video, I appreciate you a lot. So with the digital drawings, the thing I had the most fun doing, I think, was the line art. I really liked doing the initial sketch, making it really rough and messy and, you know, just making it a general guideline to help me. And then going in and finalizing all the lines and getting the shapes just how I want them was so much fun on basically every single Pokemon. Adding the line art was so much fun, and the block colours of black really helped create the look that I really like with these Pokemon. Oh, I do want to quickly mention, in the last video, I tried to put as many of the designs that I could onto Redbubble, and there are quite a few up there, but unfortunately, a whole bunch of the other ones that I tried to put up kept getting taken down, so I haven't been able to upload any of the new designs, and the only ones up there are, for some reason, okay, because I've also had a lot of people message me asking how I managed to get my Pokemon designs up on Redbubble, and truthfully, I have no idea. They were some of the first designs I ever put up, and for some reason they have like gone under the radar, and every single design I've tried to put up since has been like almost immediately flagged. So I'm really sorry. I don't really have much advice as to how I got them to stay up. The only thing I can suggest is maybe try not to use the Pokemon's names or tags. Obviously the ones I have up have their names, which again baffles me as to why they're okay, but unfortunately that means that none of these new designs will be going up on my shop. I might try again in the future and see if any of them can like slip under the radar, but so far it hasn't been going well. So yeah, I'm really sorry about that. I will let you guys know if I do manage to get any more up there. Just assume for the most part that that's not going to happen. Let's answer another question. Oh, how do you say your name? Isoneshi19, I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, asked, what's your favourite Gen 5 shiny? So Gen 5 is Pokemon Black and White, and I would have to say I had to go through the list of the Gen 5 shinies because I've not really seen them before. I'd have to say Darumaka is probably my favourite. He's my favourite from Gen 5 anyway, but his shiny is pink. He's pink! Like, he's so adorable. I love both versions of him, but his shiny is pink. There weren't really any other shinies from that generation that I liked the look of as well. It's gotta be Darumaka. He's really become a favourite Pokemon of mine lately, and I also have come to love his evolve form as well. When the game first came out, I hated his evolve form. I was like, how could you take something so cute and turn it into that? But it's something I've like grown to love. Which also links into @SassySour's question of, do you have a favourite Pokemon or a favourite game? So for favourite Pokemon, I have quite a few. I can never just pick one because there are so many designs I like, and I feel bad not mentioning like every single Pokemon that I like, but I am just going to narrow it down to a couple that are always like in my top 5 or whatever. That is Totodile, Darumaka, Shroomish/Breloom, Murkrow, and Crobat. They are so cute. I think you'll notice there is a theme that they're all small and adorable, but I do also like their evolve forms as well. I just typically don't say them because I feel like it's kind of obvious that I mean the generation line or the evolution line. The only reason I did mention Breloom is because Breloom's so cool. I know I love Breloom and they're so overpowered. And as for favourite game, I think it would have to be Heart Gold. There were a lot of Pokemon in that generation that I just really liked. I loved the story. It is probably one of my most played Pokemon games. And then of course, the Pokemon following you is so good. And when that first came out, it just kind of blew my mind. I was like, that's a thing? You could have the Pokemon follow you? So Heart Gold has such a special place in my heart. It's also, I know it's like an event in the game, or you know, it's something that's going to happen regardless, but it's also the very first game I ever got my first shiny, which is the red Gyarados that you get, because I don't have good luck with shinies at all, which I'm also going to link to the question from @Clomarie, which is, have you ever encountered a shiny in a game, and if so, what's your first? So I have never ever encountered a shiny in the wild. Aside from that scripted Gyarados, I have never come across a shiny. Aside from the Gyarados, the first shiny I've ever gotten was a Routes that I bred in X and Y, which kind of hurts that the only shiny Pokemon I've ever gotten are the ones that I have bred. And I have bred quite a few. I can't remember them all, but I'm pretty sure I got a shiny Butterfree. Oh, I can't remember any apparently. Oh, I got a shiny Lurantis. That might be it actually. But I really wanted a shiny Routes back in X and Y. Aside from the Gyarados, I kind of ignore that one, like I said, because it's scripted. I would say the shiny Routes is the very first one I ever got. And he's so adorable and so precious, because also he has his Mega Evolution. He looks so cool. Okay, so I've been drawing quite a few Pokemon at this point. What I mentioned earlier about the whole drawing the digital Pokemon kind of felt like a puzzle when I could move them around. Obviously at this point you can't really see what I mean, but what I would do after I did each individual Pokemon is I would try and fit them on a square page similar to the traditional pages that I had, and I would try and fit them in like as many as I could on a page, which is where the puzzle aspect of it came from. I will show you at the end of the video because I've printed the pages out. It is like, it's just weirdly fun. It's like kind of therapeutic. I think of all of them, my favorites to draw are the small squishy ones. They're just, I love drawing them as little round things. And I also really like drawing the ones that are like four-legged creatures, like if they are like a dog or a cat or a horse, or, you know, I really enjoy those ones the most. I'm not as big a fan as the like bipedal Pokemon, but then I do also really like drawing some of the like ones with bad posture, which you will see when I get to them. I don't believe I've drawn any of them yet. I also found with a lot of the designs, I really liked how the line art turned out, but once I would add the colours, I feel like I lost a lot of what I enjoyed about how I drew it. I would say Phantump is a good example of that. I really loved his line work, but as soon as I added the colours, I feel like a lot of his shape got lost, and that could be down to just using like too much of dark colours that the line art actually got lost. But this happens with quite a lot of the Pokemon. I also liked adding this effect to a lot of them. If they had gradients in their colour designs, I wouldn't have it be like a soft blended gradient. I would do my layered line effect that I kind of mentioned when I was drawing the traditional Pokemon that I like to do with the shading. I would do that with the gradient, and I think it is like such a cute effect. I think it keeps it in style, on theme. It keeps it consistent with how I draw these Pokemon, because I didn't like how it looked when I did try to blend it out. It just looked kind of too smooth. And if you know me, if you've been following my art or whatever, you know that I say a lot of the time I like things with texture, and adding these lines for gradient adds a lot of texture. I believe in this video we finished drawing all of the evolutions, because I think we did a few of them in the previous video, but we didn't do all of them, and I believe we finished them in this video. I think we managed to get them all down, which makes me very happy, because in the first video I was kind of like a little upset that not all of them got done. Like we had Vaporeon and Jolteon, but Flareon just was not there, and it felt wrong. It felt bad. I was very sad for Flareon, but Flareon is in this video now, which I'm very happy about. Here I am drawing Zamazenta from Pokemon Sword and Shield. I had a lot of issue drawing him. I don't think it comes across in the video, which I'm glad for. But initially I wanted to draw him as this kind of squishy little dog. But then as I was adding the line art, I wanted him to look more dog-shaped rather than squishy, which is what I had been doing. And I really struggled with that because he's got like a lot of layers, and for some reason partway through I forgot how to draw a dog. So he was quite a struggle, but I'm really glad that I did do this, because I really like how he ended up looking. I think he looks really regal, but unfortunately it does mean he doesn't look like he fits with the other one from Sword and Shield. Oh, and then I drew Lotad, and I think Lotad might be one of my favourites from this entire video, because I don't know how to describe it, but he just looks so like crispy. He comes out looking so cute, and I don't know how to describe it. Crispy is the word that just comes to my head, and I don't know if you know what I mean, then you'll get it, but there's something about he's so cute and little and stupid looking, and I love it. At Sunflower Mercy asked me, do I still remember my first ever Pokemon team? I don't actually. I felt like this was worth answering, just because, like, even though I don't have a proper answer for you, I felt like I kind of wanted to mention it anyway. I cannot remember my very first Pokemon team, which makes me sad, because I asked my brother and he somehow can, which is like really impressive, but also makes me feel really guilty, because I can't even remember my current Pokemon team. I feel like such a bad Pokemon trainer or whatever that I have no idea what my teams are. Like, they're very important to me at the time when I'm playing the games, but right now, maybe because I haven't played a game in a while, like the last one I played was Scarlet, I believe, I have no idea what my team was. But I usually make my teams different every time I play, so I can't remember. It's different every time, so I cannot remember. At Ferret7 Studio asked me, what is your favourite gen? And I think my favourite gen might actually be Gen 4, because I know that I mentioned that Heart Gold is probably my favourite game, but there's something about Gen 4 that is so... It's more special for some reason. I liked the world a lot when I first played it. It was a lot of fun. I really loved the underground aspect of it. It could also be because I just have like such fond memories during the time I was playing that game. Like, that was the very first and last, actually. It was the only Pokemon event that I'd ever gone to, and it was for Diamond. I can really distinctly remember it. It was like at a Toys R Us somewhere, and me, my brother, my friend and her brother were all queued up like for a very long time outside this Toys R Us with a ton of other people, mostly our age, and we were all playing Pokemon Diamond, and everyone was on the underground. They were in the underground, so it was super laggy because there were just so many people in it, and we were there to get Mew. It was so fun because they had these cards that you had to fill out, and it was like a quiz, and it was like writing who you were as a trainer, and it was like such a good day, and it is one of the days that I like look back super fondly. And I got Mew. Unfortunately, I didn't realise I was like a really silly child and not long later I'd never seen a Lucario before, and I thought Lucario was also a legendary Pokemon, and I remember I traded my Mew for a Lucario, and it kills me that I did that, and I can't believe I did that. But yes, so I have a lot of fond memories of Generation 4, and also I love a lot of the Pokemon in it, so it kind of combines to being my favourite generation. But I played the remake recently, and I think it's kind of agreed that that one wasn't so good. But it made me wonder if the only reason I enjoyed Gen 4 is just from nostalgia, because the remake was so bad that I was like, surely the original game wasn't this as well. Like, I feel like they cut like a load of content, or it was just faster. There was something about it that was just not satisfying to play at all. So I feel like I have to go back and play the original one to find out if it's like rose tinted glasses. And then Ferret7 Studio also asked, in your opinion, what would be the ultimate fusion of two pokes? Which I'm assuming you mean two Pokemon. I couldn't come up with one off the top of my head, but I do like to use the Pokemon fusion generator from time to time, and I don't know what the ultimate one would be, but I know what my favourite one so far is. It's one of the very first ones I ever did, and I drew it in my sketchbook ages ago. It's Slowdrio, which is a mix of Slowpoke and Dodrio. So it's pink, and one of the heads is a Slowpoke head, and it's really goofy, and I have no idea what its typing would be, but I immediately fell in love with it. So that might not be the ultimate one, but it's my current favourite one, and I now think I should redraw it because I really like it. Maybe I will. Also, if you're looking for a particular Pokemon, I do have them listed in the description with their timestamps. You should also be able to hover over the video to see them along the progress bar, but I get that that might be a little more difficult to find the specific one because there are going to be over 100 timestamps. I'm just letting you know now because I did this for the previous video as well, but a lot of people still asked or thought that I had skipped some that were in the video. So I'm letting you know so that you can check before you ask. I also won't be asking for any more suggestions just yet because I can't remember if I mentioned this earlier, but the ones that I'm drawing in this video are suggestions from the last time I asked, but I haven't finished covering all of the batch that you guys asked for from that ask just yet. I think I have almost another 100 to do. I might ask again at some point just to help me finish off the video because I don't think it is 100 completely. I probably won't be taking any suggestions from this video for the next one. I like to do that on Instagram because it is just a lot easier to keep track of them in the asks when I do that. but I will be making a note. I'll be making a post here on YouTube when I do that, so that you can head over so that you don't miss out. It's not going to be for a while because, like I said, I have a lot left to cover. If your favourite Pokemon doesn't show up in this video, there is a chance it will show up in the next video, or that I've already drawn it and it was in the previous video. Just check the descriptions first before you ask where it is. At Crispy Stardust asked, what was your first Pokemon? Which I'm also going to combine with at Art Gallery of Alan asking, what was your very first Pokemon game? My very first Pokemon was Torchic, because my very first game was Pokemon Ruby. Back when it came out, my dad bought me and my brother the special editions of them that came with the special Game Boy, which I've shown before in my videos and on my Instagram story because it is something I'm so proud of, and I'm proud of younger me for not absolutely destroying it. But it is a red Game Boy that has a little Groudon printed on the inside, as well as his face on the front of the Game Boy. So yes, Torchic was my first Pokemon in my very first game, Ruby. I have very fond memories of Torchic. They are still one of my favourites, but it is very hard to compare now because I love Mudkip so much too. Honestly, all three of the starters in that game were really, really good. Like, there are quite a lot of the early games that hit for me where I like all three starters. Unfortunately, with some of the later games, that doesn't happen as much. I have to say, Black and White, there isn't a single starter that I like. None of the evolution lines, at least. Oshawott was the one that I went for, and I still think he is super adorable, but I don't like Samurott. I think that was... I don't understand how the first two evolutions ended up as Samurott. But I know that he is a lot of people's favourites, so I also feel bad. I don't mean to be mean by saying I don't like him, but you know, that's my opinion. And I'm allowed to not like him. And it also, it doesn't negate your opinion if you do like him. Don't attack me. At 57 mice in a bowl, that's a lot of mice, asked, what's your favourite legendary / mythical Pokemon? And I think it's gonna have to be, again, I can't just pick one. I really, really like Lugia. I really like the film he was in, and I also really, really like Zapdos, who is another of the legendary birds. I'm not a big fan of Moltres and Articuno, but I love, love, love Zapdos for some reason. Some of the electric Pokemon that have like the actual like yellow spiky stuff, I really love them. Jolteon is my favourite evolution, and I feel like it makes sense, like they have similarities that make sense why they're my favourites. And then I also really, really love Entei. I really liked his film, but then also I have fond memories because he reminds me of my childhood cat, Pouncy. I think he was a Norwegian forest cat. He was massive, but he just gives me similar vibes to him for some reason. And then also my mum sculpted a model of Entei for my brother that I was just obsessed with, so I have like really fond memories of Entei as well. And as for the mythicals, I'm not as good at knowing which ones are mythicals, so I'm gonna have to look that up right now. I upset quite a few of you, it turns out, in my previous video by calling some of the mythical Pokemon legendaries and getting the whole terms and terminology mixed up. I didn't know. I'm not so big on the terms. I just know Pokemon. But let me see which one are mythical. Okay, I'm looking at a list. Oh, Deoxys is mythical. I thought he'd be a legendary. I guess I really, really like Mew. I think Mew is really cute. But I'm thinking maybe I'd go with Deoxys. I really like its design. Also, I think it's, out of all of them there, a lot of them I find annoying. A lot of them I'm not a big fan of their designs. I think I'm gonna have to go Deoxys. I think he's really cool and it comes from space. Is it really a mythical? It must be. I'm gonna trust it. Yeah, I'm going Deoxys. Which actually leads to This next question, at I Love Salt 02, asked, what's your opinion on Genesect? Which I had to look up, but I also just realised from looking up the mythicals, they're a mythical. He looks fine. He looks like, you know, like a robot bug. For me personally, he looks like something from Transformers more than Pokemon though. At MJMac26 asked, do you think that we should have Pokemon in our world? PS, I love your art. Thank you, that is so sweet of you to say. And while I'd love to have Pokemon be real, logically, I really think it would be a terrible idea. Like, it's a fun idea in theory, but the reality of it would be animal or Pokemon abuse, riots and protests against the use of them, and is it animal cruelty or not? Do the Pokemon have free will, or are we just forcing them to do what we want, no matter how innocent or horrible it may be? We already have that issue with animals currently in the world, and adding Pokemon and Pokemon battles would just push the extremes of what we do. And then all of that aside, have you read the Pokedex? Like, the entries of some of these guys are so creepy. Like, stealing kids and stealing souls, and then Charmander would die if his tail ever went out. I think that's more likely to happen than the show would lead you to believe. It would be an absolute nightmare. Oh, and then there's also the issues with travel. Like, water travel would be so difficult thanks to Gyarados and Sharpedo and Carvanha. Like, the anime showed that. There's like dedicated episodes of them like destroying boats and stuff. So unfortunately, I don't think we should have Pokemon in the real world. I'm sad to say. As much as I would love to have them, it wouldn't be as nice as I think we would all think it would be. You may have noticed that I just drew the entire Dino evolution line, which was quite fortunate. I think perhaps someone asked for all three, which is maybe why they're in order. They were really fun to draw. I kept coming back to the first one, Dino. I don't know how to say any of their names, if I'm being honest, because I know that they're after the German 1, 2, 3, which is 1, 2, 3. But in terms of putting them in the Pokemon name, I don't know how you say it. So it's like Dino, Zvilos, and Hydreigon or Hydreigon. Anyway, with Hydreigon, with the last one, I'm not a huge fan of the last one's design. I don't like the image of it having two hands that are heads. So I kind of changed it slightly to look like it just has three heads, which I prefer a lot more. But it means that it might be moving in a way that it shouldn't be. So if you don't like that, I'm sorry, but that's why I did it, because I just don't like it having heads for hands. So yeah, but I really like the first two evolutions in that line. They seem pretty more consistent than with the third one, and they're just really cute for some reason. They're adorable. And then we had Chimchar and Infernape, which again, maybe they were suggested together, but Infernape was really, really fun. I wanted to give him this sort of fighting pose, like he's smacking his fists together. I'm not entirely sure that comes across in how I drew him, but it doesn't change that I really, really like how he turned out. And I gave him this weird goofy smile that I also really like for some reason. And then I drew Altaria or Altaria. They were a lot of fun to draw. So as you can probably tell, I'm at the point where I'm changing up their poses a little bit, and I really enjoyed drawing Altaria because it's literally just a cloud with a long neck and feet, and it's a bird Pokemon as well. And I really, really like birds, if you don't know that already. So I really enjoy drawing the bird Pokemon because it's two things I love. Here I'm drawing Tinkatink. They are from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and they are a Pokemon that I actually have in the game. They are one of my favourites. I think I mentioned earlier, there are some designs in Pokemon Scarlet that I do like, because even if I don't enjoy the game, I can't deny that some of the Pokemon are still cool or cute or just fun, and Tinkatink is one of them. If I'm not wrong, I think they're Steel Fairy. They're just really, really good. I got mine to a Tinkaton. Is that right? Is that the third one? They are like one of my strongest Pokemon, so I also have a really soft spot for them. I think I named mine Tinkerbell, obviously, for obvious reasons, so I'm very fond of them. The Pokemon like that I really like in that game are one of the reasons why I played for so long, because I got really attached to them. Every now and then I think, should I go back and finish it? But then when I actually sit down to try, I get like really tired thinking about it. But maybe I will finish it one day, and maybe I'll update you guys if I do. At InkyGhost75 asked, what do you think about Sword and Shield? Everyone I know doesn't like it. I actually really like Sword and Shield. I can understand why people might not like it, but I feel like it's got a good balance of the older linear style with a little bit of the open worldness. It's not huge, but it's enough, I think, to be able to, like, you know, enjoy it and run around in it whilst keeping what I really like about the games. So I really enjoy Sword and Shield. The only thing I don't like as much is that the Pokemon gyms are different. I feel like that's less fun, but also I understand why they'd want to change up the formula a little bit, because they did that with Pokemon Sun and Moon as well, where they made the gyms trials instead, which I also wasn't a big fan of, but I still really enjoyed that game. And there were also just a lot of Pokemon in Sword and new Pokemon in Sword and Shield that I really, really liked. So yeah, I really liked Sword and Shield. It's one of the last of the new games that I genuinely enjoyed. So yeah, but again, I can see why people wouldn't like it. Inky Ghost also asked, what's your favourite starter? I'm assuming you mean from Sword and Shield. There are also starters that I'm not a big fan of. The first one I went with was, is it Grookey or Groki or something? Which I thought was adorable, but then I have to admit I wasn't a big fan of the final design, because it's another one where I felt like it kind of lost its original shape. But then I also have that with Swabble. I really don't like how Swabble ended up. And then with Scorbunny, I'd say it's the one I hate the least. But again, it just turns into a soccer player, a football player. They all just become human shaped, which I just don't like. I want the weird shapes of creatures that aren't humans. Does that make sense? Like, obviously there are some designs that are human shaped that work better because the design is more unique. But with all three of them, they just became a person. I don't really like that. I'd have to say Score Bunny. It's my favourite because it's the one I hate the least. When I play Sword and Shield, what I usually do now is once I find a type that can replace the starter, I just put my starter in my PC and I just pretend it didn't exist. I'm sorry if that upsets you, but that's my opinion. I'm adoring Sudowoodo now. Sudowoodo. I wanted him to have a funny design for some reason. I wanted him to look like he's kind of screaming. I don't know why, but when I was on this day when I was drawing him, I saw him and I was just like, he would be screaming. So that's how I drew him. I think he looks really goofy, but I also really, really like it. And then Alolan Raichu, I wanted to play around with what they were doing because they are surfing on their tail, but I wanted to have it in a more interesting pose. I think it makes sense. I struggled with it for a little bit, but I think it works out. And I really like Raichu's shapes in both their normal form and their Alolan form. It just keeps the solid mass. At Pointless Scribbles asked, what is your favourite cat Pokemon? I'd have to say the Shinx evolution line. I just love Shinx. They're one of the ones that almost makes it onto my top 5. I almost didn't say them because I wasn't entirely sure if they are a cat, but they're pretty lion-like, I believe. And when I looked it up, the internet said that they are a cat Pokemon. So I'm going with Shinx. I love every single one of their evolutions. I think they're really cool. And also, I have a soft spot for electric Pokemon. I'm sorry if you can hear that. I think there's a plane outside. I almost said Litten from Sun and Moon because I do really, really like Litten. And Incineroar is one of the few Pokemon designs that ends up being human-shaped, but I don't mind. And I have no idea why. I don't know why Incineroar doesn't bug me, but I like Incineroar and I think he's cool. At Blobbin asked, what is your least favourite Pokemon or ugliest? I hate Hypno. There is something about Hypno that I just do not like. This has been consistent from the very first moment I ever saw one. I don't like Drowsy either. I think he's really creepy. But Hypno freaks me out more. I think because it looks more like it could lead you somewhere more successfully than Drowsy. Like with Drowsy, I'd look at it and I'd be like, I'm crossing the street, I'm walking in the other direction, I don't want to know you. But with Hypno, I'm like, oh, he would totally follow you. You're not getting away from that. I've never liked him. I'm never going to like him. I'm sorry. Because he's in this video as well, which means he's definitely one of your favourites. And I'm really, really sorry, I just don't like him. And then for ugliest, I think Barbaracle, I think that's how you say it. is such an ugly design. My brother kind of pointed it out to me because until he pointed it out, I kind of forgot that it existed, but he hates that Pokemon, and I completely agree because it's horrible to look at. Like, what's up with it? Just don't, you know? So yeah, I don't like Barbaracle. Here I'm drawing Decidueye. Again, if you know me, you know that I really love owls. So I was really excited to draw him, but I was also nervous because he's not got a complicated design. But some of the like taller, longer Pokemon make me nervous because I'm like, can I make it look cute? Can I do it in my style in a good way? But with him, I feel like I tried to push more of the owl aspect of him because I love owls, and I really love how he ended up. I like how his little cowl hood thing looks, and then his little feathers of his cape. He's one I'm just really happy with. And then here I'm drawing Mega Sableye. He's also another one that I really like. Sableye was a Pokemon that I used to like a lot, and his Mega Evolution is just like really cool because he's so creepy. I wasn't sure if I was going to add his reflection or his magnified version in the ruby he's holding, but I did end up doing it, and I'm really glad I did, because after I added all of the like shiny effects with the black and the highlights, I'm just really happy with how it turned out. He is just doing the same thing as in the reference picture that I used, but he was a lot of fun, so I don't mind that he looks the same. Here I'm drawing Deerling. I went for the pink one because it is my favourite version of Deerling. Pink is also my favourite colour, so it just kind of worked out. But it is also the first version of Deerling that I got. Is that true? It's the one I can remember getting. I got it recently in Pokemon Scarlet, and I really like them. And here I'm drawing Metagross. He was quite tricky, more because I'm really bad at drawing like what's, you know, like supposed to be symmetrical or geometric shapes, and he is a bit of both. I did mess up a little bit with the proportions of his face in some areas, but I think it looks okay. I think it works out okay. I really like the use of black on this one. I think it makes it more effective at pushing things in the background. I add a bit more later. And then also with the shading, I tried to make it look textured on him, so I added lines randomly to try and make it look like he could be shiny or he's just got like flat planes on him. Here I'm drawing Flamigo, which I don't know how I feel about their design because it does kind of feel a little lazy, but I also really like flamingos, so I'm a bit mixed. It's just a flamingo with its neck tied in a knot. I don't even know what type it is. I think it might be normal because I think Larry has it, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, also they're pink, and like I said, I like pink, so I don't hate it. It was fun to draw. but I don't think I did the knots very well. And lastly, I am drawing Gliscor. He almost didn't make it into this video, which would have been unfortunate, because I managed to somehow lose his footage at one point. I thought I had him done and edited, but then when I was compiling all of the footage here together, I realised I was missing a Pokemon, and I had to go back through all of my footage and figure out which Pokemon didn't make it in. I had to count everyone and recount and cross them off the list and stuff, but thankfully I figured out that he was the only one missing. I'm really happy that it did only happen to one Pokemon, because the whole time I was making this video, I kept getting really nervous of what if I accidentally delete someone, what if I miss someone, but it thankfully only happened once, so I'm very happy about that. But yes, that is it for all of the Pokemon. That is 102 Pokemon, I believe, and it took a while. I'm sorry it took so long for this video to come out. I don't know if it's been a year by this point, but it's definitely almost been a year. And similar to the last video, I printed out each page of the Pokemon so that I could include them in my sketchbook. Unfortunately, they printed out kind of yucky because my printer hates me. So they're bitty, there is smearing on the page. I'm just really not happy with my printer. I don't know why it's like this. I've tried fixing it and changing all the inks and cleaning all the heads, but nothing works. So we'll see if when I make the next video, if I manage to get them printed out as well, but it kind of doesn't look likely at this point. But then again, it's probably gonna be a while till I do the next video. I have already started working on it, as I mentioned. I don't know how many Pokemon in. I'm only like 15 Pokemon in, I think, but that video should hopefully be a lot sooner than this one was. But thank you for sticking around anyway. So yes, that is all of the Pokemon. Here are the traditional ones, if you forgot what they looked like. I hope you enjoyed this video. As I mentioned, all the Pokemon that I drew will be listed in the description, as well as the materials that I used. Thank you all so much. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate your support. And I also want to say a massive thank you to my patrons: Dispe, Finn Carter, Grimclow, The Waffle of Life, Non-Toxic, Saint Nix, LP, Kira May, Kay, Joanna, Mila, Pretty Rotten, R.A. Foxy, Joanna Snake Moon, Humble Frogs, Local Fishkeeper, Mold Ghoul, Farrar Ware, Sun Arts, Molly Marula, Scout Radley, Sammy Bear 127, Kenzania, Jade S, Arrow, Charlie, Malorus, Jess H30, Cindy King, Art by Lavender, Angel of the Woods, Rainbow Tea, Breaded Nuggets, Learns, Humani, The Mothbug, Nox, Catbird House, The Tormented Shadow, Sweet and Hopeless, Pocket, Jordan's Tiny Planet, The Coffee Rain, Black Jackal Art, Leela Loves You, Halachu, Faith, Awendu, Cososcobs, Wolfenwares, Ronnie, Olivia Gadbor, Heather F, Cheris Needham, Rotting Lettuce, Binixery, Cyrus Orion, Lolo, Brianna McGraw, Malbon Designs, Gamut Girl, Dodo, Catberry Studio, Solar Tortoise, Venom Horror, Auden, Red S Lily, Hayley, Sienna G, Stephanie, Lady Ratbird, Clown, Fia, Greenfinch G Illustration, Lynn, Cody, Pobbles, Kaleidoscope Arm, Cloud, Cleo, Redders, Zeutka, Chelsea Amazon, Beetle Ghost, and Artsy Ghost. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, and I am currently working on a bunch of videos right now, so they will hopefully be out soon, and I will see you in the next one.